What I think Kirkland Lake is most famous for is because Kirkland Lake has the gold mines, and we're really lucky that we have all that here, and the gold mines help us get jobs.
I think that Kirkland Lake is most famous for two things. The mining here has always been a big part of Kirkland Lake, and also our winters. We get a lot of snow and very cold for a long time.
Kirkland Lake is most famous for the mining. They got a pretty rich history there with the gold mines, pulled a lot of material out of the ground, and they've done a lot of work around here.
Oh, probably definitely hockey and definitely gold mining.
I think Kirkland Lake is most famous for hockey players and gold mining.
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone would say the same thing. It's mining history. You know, with the gold mines and the iron ore mine nearby, and also it's hockey history.
I think at one time Kirkland Lake, or the town of Kirkland Lake, was also famous for, if people remember, the possibility of having the Toronto garbage brought back to the Adams Mine open pit. There was a lot of controversy about that at the time, and obviously it didn't happen, but I think for Torontonians, Kirkland Lake was in the spotlight for a while.
It's people, graduates from KLCVI, NOIT, and I use the old terms because that was the period I was brought up in.
In my research and just having my ears open to things I've heard or read, I don't think there was a place anywhere in North America that had 7 major mines, all within a radius of a mile and a half.
Well, I was always say it was for gold. The mile of gold it was called. When I first came to Kirkland Lake, there was no gold here, and I said I remember. I would say I think the first, best, most important thing I ever did was they found gold. That's what this Kirkland Lake is built on, gold.
Yeah, the coronation, 1937, so I'd be 7 years old, or going on 7, whichever. But yes, King George VI, and or rather, it was just large. It was, the parade alone was I don't know, maybe a mile. It felt that way when we were there.
The ACT Winter Carnival, which in the 60s, especially 1960s, it lasted a long weekend, but it was packed with events. People participated. They would line up Government Road from one end to the other, and the parade spanned the whole length of the main thoroughfare of Kirkland Lake, and there was even dog sled races on Government Road.
Important event that I vaguely remember, I might have been 13 at the time, is our Prime Minister at the time was Pierre Elliott Trudeau, and he made a quick visit to Kirkland Lake. Actually, it was at Culver Park, and I think he had come down by helicopter, if I remember, and that was a big event for Kirkland Lake. Culver Park was just jammed with people that day.
Perhaps the most important thing in my mind, and maybe not historical, but the greatest memory would be the KLCVI reunion of 1988. It attracted an awful lot of people into town, and you know, old acquaintances got together again, and it was a great time.
When I think of a kind of a mixed emotion event, it would be the closing of KLCVI and the opening of KLDCS. I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to teach in a new school. That's not something that happens every day. But at the same time, I have now in my career been an equal amount of time at both schools, and I still miss KLCVI.
Well, probably the discovery of gold in the early 1900s, but then more recently would be the forest fires some years back now.
Honestly, I'd say probably the discovery of the gold camp and the deposit here. Otherwise, the town wouldn't be here as far as I'm concerned.
I would consider the most important event to have been the forest fire that we had, because I think something like that really brings the town together and makes people like appreciate the town more because they realize that things can happen and they appreciate living in a beautiful place like this.
The Winter Carnival because it's really fun and but it only happens in winter, but that's okay. Favorite memories in Kirkland Lake is playing in the snow with my brothers because once we were outside just playing in the snow and then the snow was like up to my waist and it was very deep, so then we got a little bored because we didn't know what else to do, then we just started pushing each other in the snow.
My favorite memory would have to be waking up on winter mornings. This one morning there was a beautiful sunrise and there was just so much snow in our big backyard and it was just so beautiful.
Just looking back, all the weekends spent skidooing with friends, going in the lakes, ice fishing, and out on the boat, hunting trips, time with family and friends. It was all great. It's hard to pinpoint just one.
Hanging out with friends near downtown area at the parkettes, listening to bands, and the boys skateboarding, and then probably just adventures with friends and that sort of thing.
I think of my memories, most of my memories from when I'm younger have to do with my family. I had a lot of family in Kirkland Lake, so I spent my growing up summers having barbecues at my Nana's house with all my extended family on that side every Saturday.
My favorite memory is, that one's an easy one, is the day that I married my high school sweetheart, Kim, on June 28th, 1980.
My favorite memory here in Kirkland Lake is growing up as a child here in Kirkland Lake. The freedom that the kids had when I was growing up. We couldn't wait to go home after school and do our homework, have supper, and run outside to play with the kids.
The variety of individuals, it was an international town. There was people from every corner of this planet who lived and worked in Kirkland Lake. You could walk from one end of the government road to the other and hear every language spoken on this planet. And they all got together and somehow they understood each other.
Well, the experience that I had, first of all, which I really enjoyed, was the fact that anytime any building was going on in town, we in Chappie enjoyed that. A bunch of us, I can still see, we'd come down. We had our slingshots in the back pocket, by the way, too. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but that was one of the things we carried all the time.
What would you consider to be your favorite memory in Kirkland Lake?
Hey, I don't know. I guess what about my wife.
Good answer.
Kirkland Lake is a special place because everyone's nice and there's a lot of fun things to do, like playing with my friends, and there's a lot of fun places that you can go in Kirkland Lake.
I think the size of Kirkland Lake makes it a special place because it's just like this small town where most people know each other and it's almost like living in a big family.
You know what, I'd say the people. Everyone's pretty nice. It's interesting in that it's a fairly tight-knit community, small town, so a lot of people know who you are and you know who they are, and it makes it nice, a little more friendly.
Definitely the beauty. The area is just beautiful. We're surrounded by so many different lakes and rivers and the natural landscapes and that sort of thing.
I think the thing that makes Kirkland Lake a special place is the people that live here. I'm always amazed at how, for such a small town, there are so many varied groups and organizations and clubs for all kinds of different interests, whether you're into sports or you're into drama or you're into quilting or flowers or whatever your interest might be. People take a lot of pride in our community, I think, and so they make things happen.
I think it's that small town feel, you know, where you actually know your neighbors and everyone gets along. It's and it's always that you know, that story that you're never too far away from someone who has a connection to Kirkland Lake. No matter where you go, you run into someone who either knows someone or has a connection to Kirkland Lake, and that's fascinating, and that's found throughout the world.
We're surrounded by many wonderful lakes and nature. We have very little pollution compared to the big cities. We see the stars at nighttime you know, many people don't get to see that.
If we had a chance to talk to some of the former police officers of the Kirkland Lake Department, they would vouch for how rough and ready this town was. It was, there were hotels all the way down, and they were packed with people, but it was in a good way. It was a tough but a good place to be brought up.
The fact that it's blueberry country, fishing, there's lakes all over the place, and here again the air is clean, and I do know of individuals who live in the city, in Hamilton and Burlington, who would love to come up here.
I like Kirkland Lake. I always liked Kirkland Lake. It always was good to me.